Gaman we will say as we get through each day. We will bear any nightmare with a simple refrain.
It's really extraordinary. You guys have done a fantastic job. And one of the things I think that's amazing about the piece from a dramaturgical standpoint is just a series of impossible choices that these people are faced with. And they sort of try to navigate through one impossible choice, and then, oh, that causes another impossible choice. And so they're constantly in this vice that's closing in. And it rips apart families, and it's very moving, and so congratulations. I think it's fantastic, and
Well, the credit goes to three very gifted writers, Mark Acito, Lorenzo Thione, who's also the lead producer, and Jay Kuo, who's also the composer lyricist. I have great admiration for them.
So let's talk about, this project came about somewhat happenstancedly, right? I mean, you guys were you were sitting behind each other or something like that?
I don't call it happenstance.
No, we're mistaken.
I call it the theater gods. Brad and I go to the theater regularly, every night sometimes, for a whole week. And one night we went to see Forbidden Broadway. We're musical theater fans, and satirical treatment of Broadway musicals is something that we find a lot of fun too. So we went there, and it was early, and not too many people were seated, and we were seated chit-chatting between us. And two guys came in and sat right in front of us, and they heard us talking, and they heard my voice, and one of them turned around and said, "You're George Takei, aren't you?" And so we chit-chatted. That young man was Jay Kuo, the composer lyricist, who also is a practicing attorney, a brilliant attorney. He's argued at the Supreme Court. So he's a man of many talents. And the guy with him was Lorenzo Thione. And we chatted with them during the intermission, and we went back to our apartment thinking, oh, those guys are really passionate theater lovers. The next night, we went to see the Tony Award-winning musical In the Heights, but written by another very gifted theater person, Lin-Manuel Miranda, who wrote Hamilton, which is sucking up all the money in Broadway this season. And we found our seats, and we were about to sit down when we noticed two arms waving at us in the same row. And we looked over, and it was the same two guys waving at me, this time in the very same row. And I said to Brad, isn't that a coincidence? It's those two same guys. And Brad whispers to me, I think they're stalking us. And then the musical started. Near the end of the first act, the father, it's a Puerto Rican story, in the Washington Heights area, right this area, I guess. There's a bright, very talented daughter who wants to go to college, and the father wants to make her help her get to college, but he can't. And he sings a song, Inútil, which means useless. And it was a powerful, moving song. And somehow that song made my mind click to a conversation I had with my father as a teenager, asking him about our incarceration. And he was telling me about being confronted with the loyalty questionnaire, and how anguishing, how difficult, how painful it was for him to respond to that questionnaire. And hearing this song, I'm a weeper to begin with, and I started cascading tears. And then, of course, the intermission comes and the lights go on, and the two guys came clambering over knees to chit-chat again, and they see me wiping my tears off my face, and they asked me what triggered that. And I told them, and we started talking about the internment. And then we had to quit because the next act was going to begin. And so we went out for drinks after that and talked some more. And then we decided to have dinner the following night. And that eventually resulted in our deciding to work on a musical on the internment of Japanese Americans.
Hold your head high, cat.